Hello. This is the second to the paint and parlay. Now today is May 25th. And as Star Wars fans will know, this is the 40th anniversary of Star Wars. So thought I'd have that as the topic of tonight's discussion, even though I'm painting French and anti-war artillery. Now, last weekend, I got to play Star Wars Armada. Played as Imperials. Played with two Gladiator class Star Destroyers and an Imperial Star Destroyer against a whole bunch of very small ships and a horde of rebel starfighters. Suffice it to say, I was doing good up until the point where it was this hyperspace assault was the mission, and the rebel player had a Corvette. I forget the name of the Corvette offhand, but it was it's the one that was in the rebels show as the as the command Corvette in charge of everything in the first, and I guess the second season, I guess, of the Rebels TV show before it got blown up. Well, anyways, it's got a special ability where it can hold fighters in its bays and then just send them out when it wants to. So he had that on hyperspace assault, and he waited for just the right moment when my Imperial Star Destroyer was right next to the hyperspace jump point, and hyperspace that thing right next to him, destroyer, and discharged a whole bunch of B-wings, which just clobbered my Star Destroyer in the first turn. I think I took like 9 hits in one turn. It was ridiculous. And then the second turn, I had no chance. Boom, it was gone. So from there on out, I just had the two Gladiator class Star Destroyers, so I things and just went right into his swarm of bees, so to speak. Maybe 3 or 4 Corvettes before they went down. But maybe about 2. Well, it was the pickle, right? I guess that's not a Corvette. That's more of a frigate, I guess. And then I killed. It wasn't Corvettes. It was a transports that was killed. I don't know. So. But it was fun having those gladiators going swooping in and doing all the damage that they did. In retrospect, I guess I should have held the Imperial Star Destroyer at an arm's distance and just stand off until needed. So there, that Star Destroyer was just surrounded by by all sorts of fighters by the end of the by its end. Yeah. Yeah, the rebels not just took fighters; they took like the Millennium Falcon. They took was it the Hawk, right? Which was had the multi crow title in it, and with Jan Urson as the pilot. So nothing, none of the Tie fighters that I had could pin down any of their heavy fighters or bombers. So we were inadequate in defending ourselves against the Imperial or the Rebel onslaught, this Rebel scum. Well, anyways, I want to play some more Star Wars Armada in the future. You learn with these defeats, that's for sure. I think next time I might actually, instead of taking, I just took a ton of regular TIE fighters. I might throw some TIE interceptors in there next time, just to jazz things up with that, maybe. Because I think that rolling more dice would be beneficial in stripping rebel fighters of their hit points. Because as it was, I just had the regular TIE fighters, and they're just, it's nice seeing them in a swarm and stuff, but I just was not throwing enough dice to really, make an impact on any one squadron. It's pretty. I have to think about how to set up an Imperial list to deal with the Rebel fighter list, because I fully intend on playing the Rebel fighter list in the future. A bunch of Rebel stuff too, and I think that would be a fun list to do. But when I made my list for the Imperials, I did throw a whole bunch of TIE fighters out there. I think I had about 10 squadrons of regular TIE fighters. So I thought that would be kind of fun. Yeah. Another thing I'd like to start doing in the future is Star Wars X-Wing. I have collected 2 transports, Rebel transports, one I think they call it an assault carrier, but it's more like a TIE fighter tender. It's also in the Rebel show. And I have the Tantive 4, and I'll also have the Rebel, the Imperial Raider. So I think it might be fun to actually do a scenario where I have all those huge ships out there, and then a ton of small fighters swarming in and around them. I think to do it efficiently, though, I probably do it without any named characters for the fighters on either side. So and do it with a minimum of add-ons. I was thinking that they might actually speed play up, because it's going to get bogged down with the fighters out there. So thinking that might be a thing to do. If you guys have experience with playing X-Wing with the epic scale, the huge ships and the large numbers of fighters on the table, what are your experiences out there? Do you do you tend to play with a bunch of fighters with no named characters and no special abilities, just to move along faster? That's what I was thinking. You know, that way you can play with a huge collection of models on the table, or miniature gaming. Any given time, I can actually go on to the. I can simply just go to the at the drop of a hat, play an X-Wing game, but it's always like 100-point game. But I think I prefer to play the larger point numbers because to me, Star Wars is grandiose. All the movies and so forth, you don't play. You don't see just 5 ships out there fighting against each other. You see like cajillion fighters out there fighting against each other. It's a massive furball. And that's what I'd like to see on the table, as opposed to the even though I like skirmish gaming, I just find that I want to see that big massive furball. I want to play in it. Yeah. Another thing that's coming up in another couple of weeks is the Scum and Villainy faction of X-Wing is going to be getting their new what is it? The huge ship, and that could be fun. I know that ship showed up in the Rebels TV show, and it comes with one of the interceptors with it too. So they might do some there to the interceptor to make it a viable option for Scum players to field hordes of those things, which could be actually kind of a neat thing. Have 4 of the other fighters, the Kurazan fighters for Scum, and I think those are kind of neat. They're kind of like the Scum and Villainy faction's version of the X-Wing, because the stats are almost identical, except there's more hull instead of shields. Yeah. But it's not really competitive, I guess. The X-Wing is, even though the game's named X-Wing, it's traditional X-Wing from the Galactic Civil War is probably one of the weakest games, unfortunately. It's a shame, really. But I tell you what, I played against the X-Wings in Star Wars Armada, and I tell you, those the X-Wings in Star Wars Armada are pretty darn beefy. My opponent said he was pretty scared of the hordes of TIE fighters I had on the table, since I put 10 bases, squadrons of TIE fighters out there. He was like, oh, wow. But, I wanted to do like theatrical, like the movies always have hordes and hordes of TIE fighters. That's what I wanted, you know. It would be very Star Wars-y if you didn't have hordes of fighters out there. Yeah. Another neat thing that's happening is the newest Star Wars movie was released back in December. Rogue One will be airing on Netflix, which I thought was kind of cool. So anyone that has the Netflix subscription can just simply play that whenever they want this summer. I don't know when this summer it's going to be released, but I think that's actually kind of neat that they're going to be having that open for people to see. I'm wondering whether or not that's going to be a thing for the other movies, or whether or not Disney's just giving them that one movie so it'll entice people to want to see the other movies. It's kind of fun though. The Star Wars Rogue One movie. I brought my wife to watch that movie. Because at the end of the movie, she was like, "Oh, I love this movie," right? And she hates Star Wars. Unfortunately, she does not like Star Wars at all. And I mean, it's kind of justified, unfortunately, because the first Star Wars movies she actually saw were the prequels. So, so, so unfortunately, she didn't grow. Star Wars movies when she was younger, and so she didn't see the drama uh, of the Galactic Civil War and stuff like that. So, I watched those movies with her, but they do show their age, and she was like, it's hard to get through the A New Hope if you've never seen it before, because it's a kind of a slow movie compared to the other movies that they've come out with, unfortunately. But she did enjoy the Rogue One. Delighted with. She wasn't a big fan of the Force Awakens, though. And honestly, I was a little disappointed with the Force Awakens myself. Now, I knew that they were going to have the old actors from the previous movies in the Force Awakens, but my expectation was that they would just have a cameo role, and just, oh, we're gonna come in, say, hey, how you doing? Be on for a few seconds, and then whoop, out. And let the new generation, hand the torch off. That's what I was actually hoping for. Unfortunately, the older actors, it's nice that they're in that, but they're kind of old for Star Wars, and they're kind of hypocritical in saying that, even though Yoda's 800 years old or something like that. But I honestly don't. Honestly, wanted to see a new generation take over and pick up the baton, so to speak, and run with it. And I think that harmed the movie more than anything because it didn't allow more development of the main characters that they've introduced to the movie. So I wanted to see more of Finn and Ray, and also oh, what's that guy's name? Um, See, there you go. There wasn't very much of him on the screen. So, the X-wing fighter pilot. Uh, It'll come to me, I guess. I wanted to see more screen time for those people, and it just wasn't there, And I was kind of disappointed with that. I was also kind of disappointed with the villain. Um, there, what disappointed me about the villain was it just didn't seem. It just seemed conjoined. It kind of how to say not a focused bad guy. I think I would have liked it more if Kylo Ren was actually the focus of this movie instead of that other officer that was like doing whatever he was doing. I'm like, shouldn't that officer just like answer to Kylo Ren? I don't know what's that about. Why is he like? Why is there some type of rivalry there? What's going on with that? And then of course the Snoke character. I think I would have liked it better if they introduced Snoke in the next movie and then developed Kylo Ren's character more in this first movie. Yeah. Yeah, I have been watching the Rebel shows on DVD, so I only watched up to the second season. They have not released the third season to DVD yet. Although on the edge of my seat to see that though, because I'm an old Star Wars fan and an old fan of the EU expanded universe. I know that good old Admiral Thrawn is in that in the third season, so I can't wait to see that. I have yet to see the third season to see how they introduce him and how he plays out. But I saw the trailer and I thought that was pretty neat. I just thought that was one of the cooler characters in the expanded universe. I was delighted to see that Disney is bringing him back. I think it would be kind of fun. I know that they're talking about doing a young Han Solo movie and then a Kenobi movie, but fun to do if they did an Admiral Thrawn movie. I think that would be so freaking cool. But they probably won't because Disney doesn't like to glorify the villains. They like to glorify the good guys, there, right? So it seems like the thing they do. So if you have thoughts on that, without giving away spoilers, because I've been hearing news about the third season of Star Wars on purpose, so of Star Wars season 3, because I want it to be a surprise when I watch it. The neat thing with this new Star Wars Rebels show is that they're introducing new ships to the Civil War. Yeah, I've been a fan of the EU and I know what ships they had in the past, but it's pretty delighted to see the Conquered Dawn, Guardians of Conquered Dawn, for the Scum and Villainy faction up here. I thought that was kind of neat, the two Mandalorians. As a kid, I always liked the Boba Fett, and I thought, hey, that'd be kind of cool to do a Mandalorian faction. And when they came out with those ships, I purchased 3 of them. Really think they're cool. I wanted to try them out in conjunction with the fire spray and see how that works. I think that might be a neat combination to make a list of X-Wing with the fire spray and the Conquered Dawn Defenders. That'd be neat. I like what they're coming out with that game. I find it interesting that they're going to do a Wookiee fighter that will be able to hold two passengers. That'd be kind of wacky. I guess Wookiees are actually pretty big, though. So it makes sense. Yeah. So what I'm going to be doing later on my channel is I'm going to be putting up the battle report for the Star Wars Armada game I had last weekend. So you can see how it progressed and what happened there and how the Rebels won. And that could be it'll be a fun video. I might have this as a short video tonight, depending on what my wife is do when she gets home, because she's had a long day at work, so she might want to just relax and stuff. So if that's the case, then I'll have to shorten this paint and parlay session. If you're hearing that, it's a neighbor's dog barking. The dogs in the neighborhood are doing a ruckus tonight, doing their own concert. Well, another exciting thing that's happening is that there's going to be a pirate movie coming out, Pirates of the Caribbean. I think it's this weekend. I could be wrong. Pretty excited about that. I like pirates, and I want to do pirates in the near future. After I do the French and Indian War project, I want to get into pirates. Just waiting to be painted. What I'm doing now is I'm painting the artillery carriage for this artillery group that I was painting last week. I have not painted since last week, so I've not made progress since then. But I did do gaming last weekend, so there you go. I suspect I'm not going to be doing very much progress this weekend because of Father's Day coming up, and the kids probably want to do stuff, which is cool, you know. I think I'm gonna have to go over to the in-laws' house to celebrate Father's Day. My wife's parents. So they're cool people, but obviously prefer to be someplace else. I don't know how I'm gonna get out of that though. I made some points with my wife though because her parents are getting elderly, so gonna be helping their parents out this weekend with some cleaning. Gonna be her parents are getting rid of an RV, so I'm gonna help out with cleaning up that RV and so they can sell it. I don't think it's going to be much of a hassle. Maybe some dust and stuff because her parents are clean people, so they keep everything up for the most part. So I don't foresee it being a pretty bad chore. Probably knocking a bunch of dust off. That's it. Being a huge deal. But her parents are getting up there in age, so her father's got back issues. So, yep. All I've done in life, I'm surprised I don't have back issues too. Yeah. All my army stuff and running around, throwing myself on the ground. I doing football in high school, lacrosse in high school. And then when I went to college, I did rugby football. And I was a prop for all things, so I had pressure on the back of my spine and the front and on my shoulder. So it's I don't have any type of back issues. They're fun times, though. That's for sure. And I do recommend joining a rugby club when you're young and in college because it's a life experience, you know. It's almost everything a fraternity, you know, camaraderie and stuff like that. Plus, it's an athletic sport, so you actually let's see, get a little bit of get a little healthier when you play those athletic games. You know? And just like the frat boys, they the rugby rugby team. We had our own parties too. The thing about rugby is that got the party not just after the game, but also with the opposing team. The tradition in rugby. I found that interesting. That you knew that you're going to be partying and drinking with the opposing team after the game, singing songs and carry on. It's good stuff. Not every sport is like that. These days, I'm not doing any sports, so. Although I want to turn that around now. Look at myself in the mirror and go, "What happened to me?" So recently, I've started walking my dog. Makes the dog happier, and it's been giving me more energy. You know, I feel it's doing me good, and the dogs are pretty happy with it too. I got two dogs. border collie mix and a mix. Sometimes we tend to compare the two, unfortunately, and the poor little Cocker Spaniel's brain functionality is not as developed as the border collie. So he tends to be kind of on the dumb side. All my life, I've I've had dumb, stupid dogs. And that's one reason why I got a border collie, because I wanted to know what a smart dog would be like. It's a different world. It's definitely a different world. It's like having a child in a dog's body. They say that border collies, when they're adults, and mine is an adult, has like a 5-year-old human's brain functionality. I believe it. I totally believe it. I understand. I think he understands what I'm saying to a certain extent. Probably a word here and there. If I say the word WALK out loud, both dogs know what that word means. Yeah. I'm making progress tonight, that's for sure. All right. Any progress is progress, right? I feel I'll be soon done with the artillery guys here. And then after that, I will have these officers to paint. Yeah, that's going to be a lot of fun. Tonight I'm painting their lapels. Tell you what, they really dressed fine in the French Anymore, or the 7 Years War, I should say. sharply dressed individuals. I did say that I would talk about Star Wars this evening. One of the newest Star Wars Armada list things I bought, Star Wars Armada Imperial Fighter 2 pack. And I have yet to open up that pack because I intend on painting it once I open it. And it's got some neat fighters in there. It's got the TIE Defender, which is one of my favorite fighters. An old computer game almost 20 years ago, maybe even longer, called X-Wing versus TIE Fighter, where they had not just the TIE Defender, but they also had the TIE Phantom in that game. And that's another fighter that's in that pack. I think it's going to be a lot of fun to play those. See how they work out. That'd be kind of fun. Another thing they have in there is the shuttle. So it'd be interesting to have the Lambda shuttle for the Imperials. All right. Really coming along with this. Been here for almost an hour. Now, some of my friends have gotten into the Star Wars living card game. I've resisted. Mainly because I played it once, and my experience in playing it was like, it's neat, but it just didn't give me that Star Wars-y vibe. I don't know what it was. It's kind of like counter and holding up resources to say, oh, am I going to use these resources to defend myself or attack? I don't know. It just didn't really, even though it had the Star Wars pictures and stuff like that, it just thematically like the cinema type of Star Wars. It just didn't have that Granted, I only played the starter box with a friend of mine that just bought it on that day, but I was not impressed. And it convinced me not to jump into that game. Now, it's not to say that I won't do living card games. I had picked up a bunch of the Android Netrunner. I thought that was a lot of fun, that game. Although it's not popular in Tucson for some reason. That's okay, though. And then I have a bunch of, even more of the Lord of the Rings living card game. I want to start playing that. So I think it's kind of neat that there's a living card game that's cooperative. Although I was told that the Call of Cthulhu one was cooperative. Although when it comes to Cthulhu mythos or Lovecraftian stuff, I have one game that I play with my wife. It's the Eldritch Horror. And we have every expansion to that game. And we have a lot of fun playing that every other weekend or so. Fighting different monsters and stuff. Might crack that open this weekend to play. My wife? Just the two of us. It's fun. She likes to collect the different items from the different decks, and by the end of the game, she has a character that has like 50 freaking cards around it. And I'm the one scrambling around trying to get to the different things to get the monster to die. It's fun. Let's see. Last weekend, after playing Armada, we played Eldritch Horror. It was a lot of fun. We were able to defeat the monster. I went through two different characters in that game. Boy, the game really hammered me in the first character. It had given me a curse, and then it gave me like a what is it? internal injury, and then also a something else. Oh, a head injury or something like that. It's a head injury. It's an internal injury, and then they gave me poison. It was like it was really the game was kicking me while I was down. And then the reckoning symbols came up, and then just trashed my character. So I didn't even fight it because there was so many different things wrong with that character. With the conditions that I was like, well, there it is. I'll start with a new character. And that's the nice thing about that game too, is that you get into a condition that is hopeless, and then you know that you can pretty much stop fighting with that character and let start selecting a new character and do things with the old character that are reckless, so you can actually start with a new character. Probably not what they had in mind, but when you have three or more conditions on a single character, you're just like, oh, well, I'm out of here. Yeah. Fantasy Flight Games has really come out with a lot of fun games these days. In the Star Wars universe, there's a game I want to try out called Rebellion, I think it's called. And it might be Rebellion. Star Wars Rebellion. Game where they have the Galactic Civil War going on. And what they have going on with the Galactic Civil War is that one player is the Imperials and the other player is the Rebels. And the Rebel player has essentially got to hide his base, make sure his base isn't found out, and it's got to do the kind of the shell in the cups type game. Oh, where is it? Where is it? And then the Imperial player has to search for the space as well as try to nullify what the rebels are trying to do. It's interesting. I want to try it out. I haven't played it yet, but I think it'd be kind of fun to try. So I've been here for about about an hour, I guess. I guess it's not as short as I thought it would be. But I'm actually getting a lot done. Pretty pretty cool. think in another 10 minutes or so, I'll shut down the feed. At one time, I actually had Star Wars miniatures. I think it was about 20 years ago, actually. I had collected quite a number of stormtroopers and rebels for these Star Wars miniatures game that West End Games did. I liked it because it was Star Wars, but the game system was clunky. And they tried to mimic the Star Wars role playing game. But what made it confusing is I also played that role playing game at the time, the West End Games Star Wars role playing game system. And all the stats for the miniature game, all the rolls were opposite that of the role playing game. So, whereas in the role playing game, you wanted to get a target number, in the miniature game, you wanted to get a low target number, and it just confused. It confused me because I had played the role playing game so much that I kept on forgetting. And that's what made the system a little clunky, is they reversed the goals for the to achieve hitting something when you're shooting at something, and doing stat skill checks and stuff like that. It's a shame that they did that. I mean, it would have been a better game if they had just mimicked what the role playing game system did. Without reversing the dice rolls. I think my wife is here, so I'm going to shut things down.